Those of you who know me know that I am Dragon Queen, Dragon Soul. I am just the evolution of dragons. And I am blessed to work with so many different energies, dragons, phoenixes, whales. I can go to any planet in the galaxies and call upon those to step forward. But there is an absolute sacred space in my heart, which is all about dragons. And I hold the codes to activate within others dragon breath, dragon soul, dragon heart, dragon flames. And to work with dragons is, I can't even, let me tell you in light language, Kitesa Makoya, Iniesa Tushikapora Manaskatire, Santiana Kokosha Anakai, Taresa Porasama Anaha, is just beyond joy. It's bliss. It is an essence of bliss for me. And also when I activate for my clients dragons, or when they come to me and say, I've got a dragon, I'm like, to be honest, I'm like, holy shit, we're working with dragons again. And so I know that I work with dragons. I see my dragons. I have had times when my dragons have been kept from me from the dark matrix. And we have had to, a glass dome was placed over my dragons being able to come back and find me. And we had to work at closing, smashing that dome down to my dragons. And literally, as we deconstructed the dome, all of these dragons, I call them a plethora of dragons, came in. So dragons for me is in my blood. I remember being a dragon. I remember being a dragon rider as well. And also I have connections with a beautiful soul who she and I have ridden dragons before, and we have been in so many lifetimes before. And it is the joy of dragons. I integrated my emerald green dragon called Lytirius maybe 2 years ago, and it was a profound experience. And actually, I have to say, my husband nearly called the paramedics because I was on the ground. Lytirius is huge. He's masculine, and he's very powerful, very powerful. And working with Lytirius is incredible because I can actually fly as Lytirius. I feel my back and spine undulating. I feel the power of my wings. I feel the power of my whole dragon self. And I actually see through dragon eyes. I actually see through Lytirius's eyes. And I embody him. And he comes in many different times, sometimes as a protector, sometimes as a wisdom holder, and sometimes he allows me to astral travel with him. And so working with dragons, this is like, yeah, I've done that. I understand that. And yet today something very beautiful happened. And my life is all about synchronicities. And I ask you, start looking out for synchronicities because they're the seeds that grow. And then we're like, oh, I remember that happened. I remember that happened. And so for me, I'm always looking for synchronicities. And when they come in, I'm like, okay, thanks, guys. Yeah, okay, I've got that. Thank you. So let me tell you, maybe about, it must be about 2 months ago now. One of my beautiful soul sisters was in Japan, and she sent me, whenever she sees anything dragon, she always sends it to me. And she sent me this beautiful postcard. And when I received it, I was like, oh God, that's so incredibly beautiful on a really deep soul level. But I didn't think anything of it. I just kept the postcard with me because I love to see it. And I'm very particular about who I do any work with. I'm very protected. And most of my upgrades, well, I would say all of my upgrades, 99% of them, come from integration from my team. I'm very protected because of the codes that I hold and the universal grid accesses that I have. And so I'm very, very cautious and very reluctant to really let anyone into my field. So when one of my clients, who actually has become a really beautiful soul sister, we connect and our code, and she will code for herself, and we create incredibly beautiful grid points. Said to me, "Oh, why don't you set some time aside so that we can come together?" She said, "And why don't you receive?" And I was like, "Receive? What do you mean receive? I don't really receive." And it was a really difficult offer to accept. And I had to understand why I don't allow myself to receive. And it's because I'm so protected. Anyway, things happened, and today we came together. And I said, "Okay, I'm ready to receive." And she'd said, "What do you want to set as the intention?" I went, "Nothing. Let's just see where we want to go." And oh my goodness, we had the most incredible, incredible time together. And I received the most incredible transmission from her heart, and from her team. And she works with the elements. And I work with, obviously, earth, I work with fire, and I work with water. But I've never really worked with air. And I've never questioned why. I've just assumed that, I will have and be activated in whatever I need to. And I was very aware through this incredible changing in my breath and a whistle. I can't whistle. Believe me, I cannot whistle. I was whistling. But not only on the out breath, I was whistling on the in breath. So it was coming in. And I was aware of all of these air codes coming into my body, into my consciousness, into my field, into my grids. And I just surrendered into the most utterly beautiful air transmission. And I was blown away. I was just receiving something that was being returned to me in a way that was so beyond my understanding, because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't have until you find out that you haven't had it. And I was aware of turning into air, and I saw myself as this silver balloon. And as we were finishing, and at one point they wiped me out, and my head was down, I almost thought I was going to be dribbling, and the codes were coming forward, and we were weaving them in. And I was then aware of an air dragon who was coming back to me. And I always ask where these dragons are from, or when I'm working, I always ask for the planet name. And I was told my dragon was called Catorius. And she, because she's divine feminine, is from the planet Katoria. And as she came into my field, I found my back was being pushed forward, and I was elongating my spine up to the back of my skull. Because when when Kyterius came in, she is long. She is just like this dragon. She is long and she is silver. And she had to be integrated into my spine, but my spine had to be elongated. And we coded Kyterius back into my consciousness. But we coded the element of air with her. She brings that air element in. And I don't know what that means at this point in time. I don't know what that means for my clients, other than for me. It means it's a hidden aspect of myself that's returned, and I now have the 4 key elements. And so if you have dragons, if you have a love of dragons but don't understand where it comes from, call your dragons home. Give permission for your dragons to come back into your consciousness and integrate them, because they are an aspect of yourself, your evolved self, that is calling to come home to the soul self. And I cannot be a bigger advocate for dragon energy, for dragon breath, for dragon heart, for dragon flame, and dragon soul. Is beyond, 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 beyond. And I cannot wait for Katerius to come and show herself fully to me because she is absolutely divine feminine. And I struggle many times to really integrate my divine feminine because of the suppression that I've had not only in this lifetime but also in many others. So call your dragons home, call them home. Kitera manaska dorkia dai mutuia mahanakaya. Call in your dragon codes. Kite sansov. Nakie debedena kotushe kotora manaska dora okoya mana iskadara na an asha koi koi kon kon kotora sana a. Ite katera mana aska doi kampatasa na koi kotora. Irisetusha manaska. And my dragon light language is very different from my other light language because, of course, I'm dragon. Kiede na katisa. Of course, I am dragon. And when you embrace the dragon within, oh my goodness, the joy. And then you find other dragons, and then it goes crazy. And then you meet in the stars for dragon races, dragon sharing, and dragon love. And it's just utterly beyond all human understanding. So I just wanted to share that so I can light that flame within you to call your dragons home because there is nothing like it. Kieske di sektora mayena kutushe meniske katara escadora na iniisha kotora. All my love, if you have any dragon questions, just ask and I will see you for my next transmission. All my love. Kiedera sakora mana utukuya. All my love.